The afternoon sun was soft, falling golden over the parking lot as Emily held Ethan's hand, walking toward the car after a long day. She could feel the tension of the week pressing on her shoulders. The kind of tired that makes your body heavy but your mind restless. Ethan, normally chatty on the way home, was unusually quiet, his small fingers gripping hers, his eyes following the sunlight dancing across the asphalt. Emily tried to start a light conversation, asking about his day, hoping to pull him out of the silence. But his answer was distant, almost distracted. "Mum, do you ever miss someone even if they're right in front of you?" he asked. His voice soft, almost a whisper. Emily stopped walking for a moment, unsure if she had heard him correctly. The question hung in the air, strange and unsettling. She knelt down to meet his gaze, brushing a loose curl from his forehead. "What do you mean, Ethan?" she asked, trying to keep her voice calm. Inside, her heart had already started to race. She felt a strange mixture of concern and curiosity, as though she was standing at the edge of a moment that would change something between them. Ethan's eyes were wide, thoughtful, more serious than she had ever seen him. "I mean, do you ever feel happy and sad at the same time?" he said softly, almost like he had been carrying the question for a long time. Emily swallowed hard, the weight of his words pressing on her chest. She realized she had no idea where this was coming from. She held his small hands in hers and tried to understand, looking at him closely, noticing how his lips pressed together, how his eyebrows knitted in a way that made her heart ache. I think I know what you mean," she said gently. "Sometimes, when I think about certain things, I feel a little happy and a little sad at the same time," she tried to explain, wanting to comfort him, but she felt like this was bigger than she could handle with words alone. Ethan nodded slowly, as if confirming that she understood, but the shadow in his eyes told her he had something more on his mind. They continued walking toward the car, their footsteps echoing slightly on the pavement. Emily felt the tension of anticipation, like a storm gathering quietly around them. She tried to distract him with small talk about school, friends and homework, but he seemed far away, lost in thoughts she couldn't reach. Then he stopped suddenly, tugging her sleeve gently. "Mom, promise me you won't be sad when I tell you this," he said, his voice trembling, small fingers clutching hers tightly. Emily felt her heart tighten, unsure what he was about to say, but sensing it would matter. "I promise, Ethan," she whispered, kneeling down again, brushing her hand over his hair. "No matter what, I promise." Ethan took a shaky breath and looked down at the ground, kicking at a small pebble, trying to find courage. "Mom, I think I like someone," he said slowly, looking back up at her. And Emily's heart jumped in a way she hadn't expected. She forced herself to stay calm, keeping her expression gentle. "Who is it?" "Sweetie," she asked softly, bracing herself for an answer that might surprise her. His eyes wandered for a moment, and then he spoke, his words hanging in the cool air. "It's you, Mom." Emily froze, her breath catching. The world around her seemed to pause for a moment. The words weren't what she feared, but they carried a weight of innocence and pure love, the kind that only a child could express so openly. Emily felt a rush of emotion she couldn't put into words, a mix of relief, love, and sudden awareness of how much she had always taken his affection for granted. She knelt closer, holding him gently, letting him feel her warmth. "Oh, Ethan," she said softly, her voice catching. "I love you too. More than anything," she whispered, pressing her cheek against his hair, feeling the small rise and fall of his chest, realizing how fragile and fleeting these moments were, how fast he was growing. How easily they could be taken for granted if she didn't pay attention. Ethan's small hands reached up, gripping her shoulders, and he looked up at her with eyes wide and earnest. I just wanted to make sure. You never forget I'm your boy and you're my world, he said. And Emily felt tears prick her eyes. She hugged him tighter, letting him feel the same security and love he had just confessed. She realized that even in a busy, complicated life, moments like this made everything meaningful. They reminded her that love wasn't always in grand gestures or words, but in quiet, simple connections, the way his hand fit in hers, the way his gaze held hers with trust, the way his voice, soft and trembling, could carry the weight of the world and make it feel like it all made sense. Emily felt the tug of emotion, the kind that leaves you speechless. Her thoughts scattered but focused all at once. She wanted to tell him how proud she was of him, how much she cherished these moments. But words failed her, so she held him tighter, feeling his small body trembling slightly, sensing that he too was carrying emotions he didn't fully understand. And in that silence, a bridge formed between them, a quiet understanding that went deeper than words. They reached the car, but neither of them moved to open the door. Their connection held them in place, a delicate bubble of time where nothing else mattered. Emily could feel the warmth of his hand in hers, the steady beat of his heart, the small breaths coming in quick succession as he tried to hold on to courage. She realized that this moment, simple as it seemed, was life-changing. It was a glimpse into a bond that would carry them through future storms, disappointments, and challenges. A reminder that love, even when quiet, could be overwhelming in its power. Emily finally spoke, her voice soft but steady. Ethan, thank you for telling me. It means so much, she said, brushing her hand over his hair again, holding his gaze, wanting him to feel how deeply she loved him. Ethan smiled, a small, shy curve of lips, as if he too realized the importance of this moment, that sharing your heart, even in small, innocent ways, made life richer, made the connection unbreakable, made you see the world differently. As they opened the car door, Emily couldn't help but glance back at the empty parking lot, feeling as if the day had stretched and shrunk at the same time. The golden sunlight caught the edges of the pavement, the cars and the trees, and in that light, she saw not just the physical world, but the invisible threads connecting her and her son. Threads of trust, love, and unspoken understanding that would never fade. Ethan climbed into the seat with a small bounce, his earlier seriousness replaced with the faint relief of having spoken his heart. Emily followed, buckling him in, but she noticed his hands didn't let go completely. They rested lightly on her arm, a small reassurance that this bond, fragile and strong at the same time, would endure. She started the car, and as they drove away, she realized that the conversation in the parking lot had shifted something fundamental between them. It had opened a door to honesty, vulnerability, and emotional closeness that she hadn't known was missing. She glanced at Ethan in the rearview mirror, noticing the way his eyes flickered with a mixture of curiosity and contentment, the kind of expression that only comes when a child feels truly understood and loved. Emily felt her chest tighten again, a gentle ache of gratitude, realizing that even in her busiest, most stressful days, these little interactions were what truly mattered, what truly made life beautiful. The drive home was quiet but comfortable, filled with small gestures, gentle glances, and unspoken words. Emily kept sneaking glimpses at him, noting the way his fingers fidgeted with his seatbelt, the way he hummed softly to himself, and the faint smile that appeared every now and then, a reflection of inner peace, of knowing he was safe and loved. She thought about how fleeting childhood was, how soon he would grow and carry pieces of his heart into the world beyond her reach, and how important it was to treasure these moments now. By the time they reached their neighborhood, Emily felt a calm settle over her, the kind that comes after emotional storms, a quiet satisfaction that, even though life was messy, unpredictable, and sometimes overwhelming, she and Ethan had each other, truly, completely. In a way that mattered more than anything else, she parked the car, unbuckled him, and held his hand as they walked toward their front door, knowing that the memory of this parking lot conversation, the weight and honesty of his words, would stay with her forever, shaping her as a mother, a person, and a guardian of love in its purest form. The car hummed softly as Emily drove, the city streets stretching ahead under the fading light, but the quiet between her and Ethan was heavier than any silence she had known. She glanced at him in the rearview mirror, noticing the way his small hands fidgeted in his lap, the hint of hesitation in his posture. Something inside her told her the conversation from the parking lot wasn't over, that he had more to say. Ethan finally broke the silence, his voice barely above a whisper. "Mom, I think I like someone." Emily's heart jumped, a sudden surge of curiosity and caution running through her. She kept her eyes on the road but spoke softly. "Who is it, Ethan?" she asked gently, wanting to understand without alarming him. His eyes flickered to hers, hesitant, like he was balancing fear and courage. "It's you, Mom," he said, and the words struck her in a way she hadn't expected. She froze for a moment, the hum of the car the only sound, and she realized quickly that his meaning wasn't what she feared. It wasn't adult love. It was the pure, innocent adoration of a child, a love so simple yet so overwhelming. She felt a rush of emotions, relief, warmth, and a deep ache in her chest that reminded her how fragile and fleeting these moments could be. Ethan looked down at his lap, kicking at the edge of the car seat nervously, and Emily reached back, taking his hand gently. "Oh, Ethan," she whispered, trying to keep her voice steady. "I love you too. More than anything," she said, pressing her fingers into his small hand. Letting him feel the depth of her affection, he looked up at her, eyes wide, as if searching for reassurance that it was okay to feel this way. "I just wanted to make sure. You never forget I'm your boy. And you're my world," he murmured, his small voice carrying the weight of something far beyond his years, and Emily felt her chest tighten, pulling him closer, letting him lean into her warmth, holding him in a hug that said more than words ever could. She realized that even in the chaos of life, moments like this were rare treasures, reminders of why she worked so hard, why she pushed through exhaustion, why she kept going despite the little disappointments that piled up day after day. As they drove, the city lights flickered past, and Emily felt a quiet awe at the simplicity of what he had shared. His honesty, his trust, the unfiltered way he expressed love. It made her think about how often she had taken these little gestures for granted. The small hugs, the shy smiles, the way he rested his head on her shoulder during bedtime stories, the way he whispered secrets in the dark. All the small moments that built a bond stronger than anything else in the world. Ethan's voice came again, softer this time. "Mom, I just want you to know I'm always here for you too." And Emily felt a lump in her throat, realizing how much these words mattered, how much responsibility and love intertwined in his innocent declaration. She reached back, brushing a loose strand of hair from his forehead, holding his gaze through the mirror. "I know, Ethan. And I'm always here for you too," she said. And for the first time that day, she felt a sense of calm settle in her chest. The kind of calm that comes from understanding, connection, and mutual trust. The car turned onto a quieter street, lined with trees and small houses, the golden light fading into dusky purple. And Emily noticed how Ethan's expression softened, the tension he had carried since the parking lot slowly easing. She realized that opening his heart, even in such a small way, had lifted a weight from both of them. It wasn't just a confession. It was a bridge, a shared understanding that strengthened their bond in ways she couldn't fully describe. Ethan shifted in his seat, glancing out the window, then back at her. "Mum, do you think people should always tell each other their feelings?" he asked. And Emily smiled through the lump in her throat, amazed at how insightful and sensitive he was. "I think so, Ethan. Yes, I really do," she replied. "It's important to share what's in your heart, even if it's scary." He nodded thoughtfully, seeming to absorb her words like a sponge, processing the idea with the seriousness only a child could bring. They drove in companionable silence for a few minutes, each lost in their thoughts. Emily reflecting on the way love and trust could exist in so many forms. Ethan quietly thinking about the reassurance he had just received, the warmth of being truly understood, and the certainty that his mom loved him unconditionally. No matter what, she watched him closely, noticing the way his small shoulders relaxed, the way his fingers tapped lightly on the seat, the subtle sigh that escaped him, a sign that he felt safe and cared for. The conversation shifted again as Emily asked gently, "Ethan, can you tell me why you felt like you had to say this now?" And he paused, considering his words. "I don't know. I just wanted you to know. Because sometimes I feel sad when you're busy or tired. And I just want you to remember that I love you," he said, his honesty raw and touching. Emily felt tears prick her eyes, the kind that rise suddenly when words hit straight into your heart. She reached back, placing her hand over his. "Oh, Ethan, I always remember, and I love you even when I'm busy or tired," she whispered, feeling a deep sense of connection that transcended words. He looked up at her then, a small smile breaking across his face. "I'm glad, Mom. I just wanted to make sure," he said softly. And Emily realized that his small declaration had done more than express his feelings. It had reminded her of the importance of these quiet, tender moments, the kind that make children feel secure, loved and valued. She realized that parenting wasn't just about providing, teaching or guiding. It was about being present in moments like these, about listening, understanding, and holding their hearts gently in your hands. The car slowed at a stop sign, and Emily took a deep breath, reflecting on the depth of what had just been shared. She thought about how easy it could have been to brush off his words, to rush past them in the busyness of life. But she had stopped, had listened, and the result was this profound, quiet intimacy that filled the car with warmth. She glanced at Ethan again, noting the peace in his eyes, the way he leaned slightly toward the window, then back at her, a subtle reminder that he felt safe, that he had shared something meaningful, and that bond, invisible yet unbreakable, would carry them both forward. Ethan's voice came again, this time almost a whisper of thought. "Mum, can we always promise to tell each other our secrets?" And Emily's heart swelled, the simplicity and depth of his request striking her. "Always, Ethan, no matter what," she said, holding her promise in the steady rhythm of her voice, feeling the weight of its meaning. She realized that life often presented fleeting moments like this, moments that demanded presence, attention and love, moments that, if noticed, could shape relationships for a lifetime. The car turned into their neighborhood, and Emily felt a mixture of relief and lingering emotion. The streets familiar yet carrying the resonance of their shared moment. Ethan's small hand brushed against hers again, a quiet affirmation that the connection between them was strong, unspoken but powerful. She thought about the way his innocence had created a space for honesty. The way his love, pure and unfiltered, had reminded her of the importance of expressing her own feelings openly. As they pulled into the driveway, Ethan finally released her hand. Climbing out of the car with the careful precision of a small child stepping into a world that sometimes felt too big. Emily followed, taking in the quiet evening air. The soft hum of distant traffic, the golden glow of the streetlights beginning to flicker on. She realized that the parking lot conversation had not ended. It had evolved into a living, breathing bond. A quiet understanding that words alone could not capture. Standing at the doorstep, Emily watched Ethan skip lightly ahead. A small smile on his face, and she felt an overwhelming surge of love and protectiveness. Knowing that his honesty, his trust, and his pure heart were treasures she would guard fiercely. She knew that life would challenge them, bring days of chaos, stress, and fatigue. But moments like these, small, tender, and profound, would anchor them, remind them of the unbreakable bond they shared, the kind of love that grows quietly, steadily, and transforms ordinary moments into extraordinary memories. Emily opened the door, and as she stepped inside, she felt a gentle calm settle over her. A quiet satisfaction that came from knowing she had truly seen and heard her son. That she had responded with love and understanding. That she had held space for his emotions without judgment or distraction. And in that calm, she realized that the true essence of motherhood, of connection, and of love, was often found in these brief, powerful flashes of honesty and vulnerability, the kind that leave a lasting mark on both hearts. Ethan's small voice called from the hallway, "Mum, thanks for listening," and Emily turned, smiling softly. "Always, Ethan, I'll always listen," she said. And she meant it with every fiber of her being. She knew that this moment, like the words in the parking lot and the drive home, would stay with her forever, a reminder that love, patience, and presence were the most valuable gifts she could give, and that her son's heart, so open and sincere, was a gift she would cherish for the rest of her life. The drive home was quiet, but it wasn't uncomfortable. Emily felt a gentle calm settle over her as she glanced at Ethan in the back seat, his head resting lightly against the window, the soft hum of the car filling the space between them. He seemed thoughtful, almost pensive, and Emily knew the events of the afternoon had left a mark on him, a sense of emotional closeness she hadn't fully realized before. She found herself stealing glances at him, noticing the small details she often overlooked. The way his fingers tapped lightly on the edge of the seat, the slight curl of his hair catching the fading sunlight, the tiny rise and fall of his chest as he breathed, all reminders of how precious these moments were. Ethan shifted, finally sitting up straighter, his small voice breaking the silence. "Mom, do you think people can love someone in different ways at the same time?" Emily's hands tightened on the steering wheel slightly, her mind racing to find the right words. She realized that his question, though simple, carried the depth of a child trying to understand the world of emotions. "Yes, Ethan, I think they can," she said softly. "Sometimes we love people in many different ways. And that's okay. It makes life richer." Ethan nodded slowly, his eyes reflecting both relief and curiosity, as if he were absorbing a lesson too complex for his years, but perfectly simple in its truth. The neighborhood approached, familiar and warm, yet Emily felt a strange sense of reverence for the quiet moments they had shared. It wasn't just a conversation about feelings. It was a bridge, a connection that strengthened the trust between mother and son. Ethan glanced at her from the rearview mirror, a small, shy smile appearing. "Mom, I'm glad I told you," he whispered, and Emily's heart tightened. She wanted to tell him how proud she was of his honesty, how much she cherished the bond they were building. But words felt unnecessary in that instant. The silence between them carried more meaning than anything spoken. They turned onto the familiar street, lined with tall oaks and quiet houses, the soft glow of the streetlights beginning to flicker on as dusk settled. Emily noticed the way Ethan's eyes lingered on the world outside, the fading light reflecting in his gaze, and she felt a wave of protective love, realizing that these moments of trust and openness would not last forever, that one day he would carry his thoughts and feelings into the wider world, and that this bond, formed through honesty and shared emotion, would be the foundation of the relationship they would have as he grew. Ethan's small hands fidgeted again, and Emily reached back instinctively, brushing a loose strand of hair from his forehead. "Mum, can we always promise to tell each other our secrets?" he asked softly, almost hesitantly. As if worried about the answer, Emily smiled, her eyes filling with tears she refused to shed just yet. "Always, Ethan. No matter what," she said, her voice steady. Full of the weight of her promise, she realized that this simple pledge, spoken in the quiet of their car, would shape the trust and emotional intimacy they shared for years to come. The car rolled slowly down their street, and Emily noticed the subtle shift in Ethan's demeanor, the way his shoulders relaxed, the faint smile that played on his lips, a sign that he felt seen, heard, and understood. She realized that moments like this, fleeting and ordinary in appearance, were the moments that built memory, shaped hearts, and reinforced the bonds that truly mattered. She felt a sense of peace wash over her, the kind that only comes when you know you have been fully present in a child's emotional world. Pulling into the driveway, Emily parked the car and turned off the engine, the quiet of their neighborhood settling around them, birds calling softly in the distance, the fading light casting long shadows across the lawn. Ethan didn't rush out as he usually did. He lingered, as if reluctant to leave the cocoon of shared understanding that had formed in the car. Emily reached over, taking his hand again, guiding him gently. "Come on, Ethan. Let's go inside," she said softly, and he followed, the simple touch of their hands reinforcing the connection they had nurtured over the past hour. As they walked toward the front door, Emily felt a swell of love, protective and tender, realizing that the trust he had shown, the honesty he had expressed, was a gift she needed to treasure. She thought about how often life's busyness had distracted her, how easy it could be to overlook the small, meaningful moments, and she vowed silently to pay closer attention, to nurture their bond, to always make space for honesty, emotion, and shared vulnerability inside. The warm glow of the living room greeted them, the familiar scent of home, the quiet ticking of a clock, and Emily felt the kind of calm only found in places where hearts feel safe. Ethan moved toward the couch but paused, looking back at her. "Mum, thanks for listening," he said simply. And Emily's heart swelled. She knelt beside him, brushing his hair from his forehead once more. "Always, Ethan, I'll always listen," she replied, meaning every word, realizing that this simple act of listening, of being present, was one of the most powerful gifts she could give. They settled on the couch together, Emily pulling him into a gentle hug, the kind that carried warmth, comfort, and unspoken understanding. Ethan leaned into her, small arms around her waist, and Emily felt a profound sense of gratitude, thinking about how fleeting childhood was, how quickly these moments would pass, and how essential it was to fully embrace them while they lasted. She reflected on the honesty he had shown, the trust he had placed in her, and the love that flowed freely in both directions, pure, untainted, and deeply moving. Ethan whispered again, softly, almost to himself, "Mum, you're my favorite person in the whole world." And Emily laughed quietly, brushing a tear from her cheek. "You're mine too, Ethan, always mine," she said, the words carrying the weight of her heart. And in that moment, she felt the full depth of what it meant to love someone unconditionally, to be loved in return, to share a bond that transcended words, actions, and even time. A bond rooted in trust, presence, and emotional intimacy. The evening passed in a quiet rhythm. Dinner came and went. Chores were done. But the memory of their conversation lingered. Emily noticed Ethan's occasional glances toward her, small smiles, the gentle way he would reach for her hand when passing by, subtle reminders of the trust they had solidified in the car and parking lot. She realized that these gestures, small as they seemed, were the threads that wove the fabric of their relationship, delicate yet strong, invisible yet powerful, shaping the way they would interact, share, and love for years to come. Later, as Emily prepared for bedtime, she noticed Ethan standing by the hallway, small and thoughtful. "Mom, can we always remember today?" he asked, his voice carrying both hope and innocence. Emily knelt to meet his gaze, taking his face gently in her hands. "Every day, Ethan. I will remember this, and so will you, and we'll always carry it with us," she said softly, feeling the profound weight of her promise, knowing that memory, shared honesty, and love were the foundations of security, trust, and emotional resilience. Ethan climbed into bed, and Emily tucked him in, holding him close for a moment, feeling the soft warmth of his small body against hers. "Good night, Mom. I love you," he murmured, his eyes already drooping with sleep. "Good night, Ethan. I love you too," she whispered, pressing her forehead to his briefly, and she realized that love like this, unspoken but deeply felt, was the essence of life, of parenting, of human connection. It wasn't grand gestures or big words, but quiet, consistent presence, an emotional honesty that left the deepest mark. She left his room quietly, closing the door gently behind her, and for a moment she paused in the hallway, letting the stillness settle around her, reflecting on the day, the parking lot, the drive, the honesty, the trust, and the love they had shared. Emily realized that motherhood was as much about listening as it was about guiding, as much about being present as it was about teaching, and that these fleeting moments, small as they seemed, carried more weight than any advice, reward, or correction could ever provide. Sitting in the living room, Emily sipped a cup of tea, thinking about the bond they had strengthened, the promises made, and the lessons learned. She smiled softly, knowing that these moments of trust and love would ripple through their lives, shaping Ethan's sense of security, confidence, and emotional awareness, and reminding her, too, of the importance of slowing down, being present, and truly listening to the ones you love, the people who matter most. As the night deepened, Emily felt a quiet satisfaction, a warmth that came from knowing she had truly connected with her son, shared in his heart, and given him the reassurance and love he needed. She reflected on how rare and precious these moments were, how fleeting childhood is, and how powerful honesty, vulnerability, and unconditional love could be. She knew that this day, this conversation, and this promise would stay with them forever. A quiet, enduring bond that no time, distance, or challenge could ever break. Finally, Emily turned off the lights, listening to the soft breathing of her son in the next room, feeling the depth of love, trust, and connection that had been built. She whispered to herself, "Always, Ethan. Always." And in the quiet of the night she knew it was true, that this bond, nurtured by honesty, understanding, and gentle love, would carry them both through every joy and challenge ahead, shaping the family, the heart, and the soul in ways that were lasting, meaningful, and deeply profound.